game of Skellzies, born in the streets of Brooklyn. Chalk and a bottle cap is all that is needed to play. A simple game that takes only minutes to learn, but a lifetime to master. The rules are simple. Move a bottle cap from one numbered square to the next. When all 13 have been reached, the match has ended. My name is Leslie Roth, and I will be your host on this journey into the life of one man whose passion for the game is unparalleled. In the next half hour, you will meet a legend who has devoted a lifetime and achieved the highest rewards that the game has to offer. That man is Joe Higgins. Born in 1950 to recent Irish immigrants Edna and Stanley Higgins. From very early on, Joe showed a natural ability at Skellzies, but the game was not widely accepted, and this caused problems among the other youth.
Yeah, growing up, it was a little tough for me in the beginning. I really wasn't much of a ball player. I didn't take to football. I couldn't hit the ball in stickball, so I had to find my own little niche.
I'll tell you, when all the other kids were playing football, stickball, this guy was playing Skellzy. Can you imagine Skellzy?
You know, the other kids would give it to him a little bit, you know, the more popular games, or, you know, stickball, wiffle ball, basketball, whatever, you know. And the other kids would give it to him, you know, because, you know, here he is playing Skellzies, they're playing these other sports, and they'd really give him, you know, he took his lumps, you know. And, but eventually they came around, though, you know, they saw him play, and they saw how good he was, you know. Over the years, he started playing better and better, and they turned around. They saw how good he was, and they kind of had a little bit more respect for him, you know.
This was the highlight of my school career because, you know, all of a sudden I got pals, guys want to be my friends. I'm even getting dates. It was phenomenal. It wasn't all boys school, but, you know, that's really not the point here.
After gaining the admiration of his peers, Joe decides to build his very own Skellzies court in his basement. There he hones his skills day and night.
Perfect. I'd be down there in the rain practicing for hours. Practicing on my blasting, practicing on my positioning. I really got good at the old English spin, the whole bit. I got really good down in that basement, all by myself.
I heard about that. He had a Skellzies board in his basement. You know, if it was raining out in the wintertime, he could play in his own house. And he was down there all the time now. You know, he's playing all day long. And he never came out of that place. But, hey, he got better and better at it.
Hours and hours it takes. I could see why a professional works at in his field, because that's what it takes, practice. It took me a lot of practice, but I did become the top of my game.
Joe's schedule of practicing constantly prepared him well for the first ever Brooklyn Championship.
Oh yeah, the Brooklyn Championship. That's where the first championship was held, you know, in Brooklyn, because that's where Skellzies came from, you know.
Joe arrived and completely dominated, winning back-to-back championships. The stage was now set for his next challenge, the World Championship.
Somehow, Skellzies became international in '69. It was phenomenal. They were playing it in France. The Goombas were playing it in Italy. The Donkeys had it in Ireland. The game was phenomenal. Worldwide, I should say, worldwide.
I first started announcing in '69. That's when I did the first ever World Championship. And there you had countries from all over the world.
On the boats and on the planes, they're coming to America, never looking back again. They're coming to America.
In America, you had countries from the West Coast, LA, Texas, all the way to London, to China, Japan, Ethiopia, Russia. And of course, Brooklyn. That's what Joe represented, Brooklyn.
And of course, I was the Brooklyn reigning champ, but apparently nobody gave me a odds on to win it all here. I seemed like I was the underdog in my own home court. I was ready for them.
Joe arrives at the first ever Skellzies World Championship as a literal unknown. But by the end of the day, that would all change.
So Joe walks in on the first ever World Championship, and these representatives from all over the world, they look at him and they don't think he's any good. He's got the long hair, he's humming rock songs, he's like a hippie, and he's a little kooky. So they're looking at him and they don't think anything of him. And he comes in, he blows them all out of the water.
Yeah, well, we started the competition, and I was hot. Boy, I was really on that day. I was doing backspins, I was blasting like a king, but all day long I'm hearing about this Russian guy, Igor, whatever he called himself, Igor, I think it was. Somehow in my gut, I knew it was going to be me and him. I could just feel it.
Igor Khrushchev, the Russian champion, honed his skills during his time in the Russian army. Posted to a remote location in Siberia gave Igor plenty of time to hone the skills needed to become a world-class contender.
Back in the old days in Russia, I played Skellzy day in and day out. I was the best. No one in Russia from all the principalities could not beat me. I played in snow, in the mud. We were not like Americans. We had no concrete. We played hard and we played mean. Here they fill the caps with crayon, wax. Nothing like that in Russia. We play with just the caps. We played till our fingers bled. In fact, we like it when my fingers bled.
And I was having a really good day, but this Igor boy put a damper on a good day with that personality of his. There was absolutely nothing there as far as personality. A mean, rotten look on his face from beginning of the day right into the final game.
The first time I come to America for the final championships, I did very well. And then I come to the final game to play Mr. Higgins. Me, someone in the Russian army for 5 years, clean cut, all Russian man, meets this long-haired blonde man from America. I say, he cannot be a good Skellzy player. There's no way he can beat Igor the Great.
And when they played, Joe would be ready to hit his Skellzy cap, and there was Igor, just like right behind him, like a hawk, just standing right over him, ready for him to mess up, ready to like pounce on him as if, but he would never mess up though.
To me, Skellzy is a way of life. Americans, they make fun. They drink, they party. Not me. It was Skellzies, sleep, exercise, Skellzy, sleep, until the tournament was over.
Igor was very unsociable. He wouldn't talk to Joe, he wouldn't talk to anybody. Joe would be there talking with everybody. Everyone loved Joe. But Igor, he wouldn't talk to anybody, He wouldn't even give us an interview.
First of all, he was miserable. Just no personality whatsoever, horrible to play against. Try to be like a gentleman, offer him a glass of vodka or a glass of champagne. Never accepts it, just personality like a cockroach. I could deal without that.
Eventually, everybody starts to love Joe. But Igor Khrushchev, they never saw eye to eye.
Joe goes on to win the 1969 World Championship.
I was the international Skellzies champion, far beyond the boundaries of Brooklyn. I never realized how popular the game had gotten until it got this international coverage. As soon as that game was over, I was hoisted up on a couple of guys' shoulders, popped a bottle of champagne. I got news interviews. I was seen worldwide. It was a wild ride. It was phenomenal. I never thought anything like that could happen. I got a call from the governor of New York. I got a call from the mayor. I didn't take the mayor's call, but I did talk to the governor. I had old girlfriends calling me up, say they saw me on television, teachers I had in school congratulating me. It was just beyond anything I ever dreamed. It was beyond my wildest dreams, the amount of fame I picked up for being a Skellzies champ internationally.
The streak, however, would not end there. The decade of the 70s would become known as the Joe Higgins era of Skellzies. He dominated year after year, winning back-to-back championships, facing his nemesis, Igor Khrushchev.
70, I played Igor again and beat him. 71 against Igor. 72 against Igor. All the way on straight through to 78. Igor was my final competition each and every year.
Every year it would come down to Joe and Igor. And every year it was a close match. But Joe would always come out on top. Probably why the Pinko didn't like him.
Every year, I would come to America to play in the finals. I'd work hard during each tournament game to come to the finals to meet Mr. Joe Higgins.
The backdrop of the Cold War between the East and the West only served to fuel Igor's anger and humiliation at being defeated by Joe year after year.
So in 78, Joe wins his 10th championship in a row. And afterwards, everyone goes over Joe's pad to party. So we're over at Joe's place. You know, we're having a great time. Broads everywhere, drinks are flowing, the blender's going.
Yeah, I remember the big party Joe had, you know. That fuck, he didn't invite me. He didn't even give me a call. Like I'm a deadbeat, like a fucking no good. That's all right.
The party's going big. I got all my close friends. We got a lot of loose women with us. We're having a great time. Decided to mix a pina colada with some ice and crush the ice.
If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain.
So now, Joe is talking to some girl over here, and he's making drinks. So he's talking to her. He's putting ice in the blender. Still can't believe what happened.
So then we decided to have a few more drinks. And well, give me 2 minutes, please.
The blender mangled Joe's fingers, worse than an Outback croc attack.
In retrospect, maybe I shouldn't have had those extra drinks, but that's history now.
Now all hell breaks loose. Who's getting Joe's fingers out of the blender? Who's calling the police? Who's opening the door, running out the door? Who's still making out on the couch? It was a crazy scene. It was a crazy scene.
Couldn't believe when I pulled my hand out of that blender what they looked like. Thought I lost my hand.
Joe's Skellzy world was turned upside down. Everything he had worked his entire life for was now hanging in the balance. He was rushed to the hospital.
So now Joe's in the hospital. For the first few months, he's really miserable. You know, he didn't want to talk to anybody, and, you know, he just really loses it, you know. I mean, he might never play again. You know, this is what's going through his mind, you know. This is Joe Higgins, the greatest Skellzies player that there ever was.
I couldn't take my head off the pillow. I was just so depressed. I thought my whole life was over with. In a matter of a minute, I think everything that I lived for was over. Then I read in the paper that this Igor heard news of my accident and showed no signs of feeling bad for me whatsoever. I mean, you think normally I would have been totally pissed off, but I was so depressed I didn't even care.
You don't realize how hard it was for me to come back year after year after losing to Miss Higgins. But then I heard the news that Mr. Higgins had damaged his hand really badly. At that point, I threw a big party in Russia. Everybody came, knowing for sure I would be the champion this year. In fact, Premier Brezhnev came to party and mentioned to me, which means, win this one for Mother Russia.
For the first few months, he's, you know, totally miserable. You know, his morale is way down, doesn't want to talk to anybody. You know, he really lost it.
Mentally, I was shot, and physically, I was starting to get that way too. I wasn't brushing my teeth. I let my beard grow. I wasn't showering. I was like a filthy skell. I disgusted myself. Horrible time of my life.
He totally lost control of his life.
Yeah, so the doctor comes in one day, and I said, Doc, I got a great idea. I've been watching TV. I see this guy on TV. He's a bionic guy. I said, all I need is a bionic hand. He says, no way. He says, that's TV. That just doesn't happen for real.
That's true. Joe asked the doctors for a bionic hand. The doctors are like, Joe, that's a TV show. We can't give you a bionic hand. He was a little upset, to say the least.
Joe would spend the next 8 months in the hospital recovering and was finally released.
So now Joe finally gets out of the hospital, and he's back to his normal self. He's smiling again, and his hand recovers. But no one really knows for sure if he's going to play as good as he was.
I finally got my act together. I shaved up, I cleaned up, took a nice shower, got a haircut. Was feeling good about myself because I had a little press conference downstairs for my release. So I was telling everybody how I was feeling, coming about, and my physical well-being. Then I shocked them all by saying I'd be ready for the championship in 2 months.
Coming to America, I find out Mr. Higgins is back on the circuit. No way this could be. His fingers were very badly damaged. He could not be beating me.
Joe returned to the championship. But would his hand play a factor?
I could picture it like it was yesterday. I was a nervous wreck. I had butterflies in my stomach. It was like I was 16 years old all over again. Started out, I felt confident, but the cold weather was getting to me. First game, I was a little shaky. I just barely pulled it out. Second game, I really wasn't much better.
Joe put in a lackluster performance in his first rounds, but his old rival, Igor Khrushchev, was playing exceptionally well.
We go to tournament. I work through tournament once again, running through each opponent, stepping on them, moving my way towards championship. But I watch Mr. Higgins. He himself is having a tough time. I know for sure if he comes to championship with me, I will step on him like bug.
Joe struggles in the first couple of rounds, and he struggled so much it looked like he might even lose a couple of matches. But eventually he makes it into the final round. And who does he play in the final round? It's Joe and Igor again.
Joe would once again face Igor in the finals of the Skellzies Championship.
So, of course, Igor gets down and gives me this Russian smirk of his and bangs away to onesies, twosies, threesies, winds up foursies. Gets off to a nice clean start, winds up in foursies.
And I just missed 4Z beyond the line. It was very close. We had to have referee make mistake and look at me. I think mistake still.
It's Joe's turn. He starts shooting, and he never stops.
Got down in my position because, like I said, position was a big part of my game. Position and strategy. Nice clean shot, my first shot to onesies. Skimming on over to twosies, threes. Met him at fours and blew right past him to 5, 6, 7.
I can feel the anger welling up inside of me.
From 7, I went to 8, 9. I actually had to get up, walk around, of course, myself. I couldn't believe how good I was playing. Went from 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s, and straight on into 13, right on in and through the finish line. It's never been done before. 13 in a row, the only guy ever to shoot the perfect Skellzies game.
Joe Higgins had done it, against all odds, shooting the perfect Skellzies game and winning the 1979 championship. This would bring him fame and fortune beyond his wildest dreams.
Now he's a millionaire. A real big shot who don't want to fucking know me no more. You'd think he'd give me a call once in a while, but no. I'm here. I'm stuck as a fucking soda jerk, a real mama Luke. Got to deal with these fucking kids who don't know from a stickball to a skelly cap. You know, if it don't got a button on it and some kind of gadget you plug into the TV, what do they know from anything?
After the '79 championship, Joe Higgins retired. He was complaining about some tightness in his hand. What a way to go, though. On top of his game, after shooting the first ever perfect Skellzies game.
And it was a fantastic ending to a story. And I got to tell you, at that moment, I was at my all-time high, and I just thought, what better way to go out than on top?
Joe would retire in 1979, leaving with the only undefeated record in Skellzies.
Joe Higgins will always be the greatest Skellzies player. Others will come along. They'll be compared to Joe Higgins. But there'll never be another Joe Higgins.
Very few true champions know when to leave at the top of their game. Joe Higgins was not one of them. The myth, the man, the legend. Skellzies' world had never seen such a true champion. I'm Leslie Roth. Thank you for joining me, and good night.